Sue Donaldson. Welcome to Welcome Heart, Living a Legacy Life podcast. We long to live a life that matters beyond ourselves, and we can do that by investing in people and God's Word, through opening our homes, through building community, and through mentorship, which is simply sharing with another what we learn at the feet of Jesus. Thanks for joining me. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about how an invitation, a simple one, can change a life, even to a complete stranger. I'm going to talk about two stories, actually, two different women who felt forgotten and left behind. Have you ever felt forgotten or left behind? I remember as a child, there were 5 of us kids. We were going across country, and Dad would drive long hours, and he stopped at a gas station, and I went in to use the restroom, and when I came out, the car was gone. I had been left behind, and my mother was asleep, and they thankfully went to a restaurant, and Mom looked around, counted all the children, and one was missing, and it was me. And of course, they panicked, and Dad drove back to the gas station, and there I was, standing by the gas pump. And I remember the nice gas man saying, "Don't worry, they'll be back." It was kind of frightening for me as well. I met these two women while they were just doing their jobs. They were doing their daily work, and I was on the receiving end of their good work until they were on the receiving end of God's good work. God leads in common things like spa treatments and salons and tea parties and meetups at the park, or a random conversation after church in the courtyard or in the parking lot. Everyone is waiting for some type of consolation, and often that comes through invitation. One afternoon, I took advantage of a pedicure gift card from a friend. I looked forward to some time alone at a little nail salon across town. I love gift cards, and I'm fairly self-aware. I know I'm an off-the-charts extrovert. But I still value time in a good book, and I savor any quiet I can carve out of a day, even while surrounded by women in a busy salon. Settling into my chair, I turned on the chair massage buttons to combine all, and I mean all, and I placed my feet in the steaming water, and I opened my book. I was in for a treat. I just knew it. We all need treats. I needed some rest. We all need rest. A few moments in, I noticed that the clinician or technician who began working on my feet seemed particularly friendly. To say this was unusual would not be far off. I'm the one often asking the questions and making baby steps towards connection, or at the least, sprinkling some salt and light into someone's otherwise ordinary day. But this day turned out anything but ordinary. Vicky, she told me her name, asked me my name. Usually it's the other way around. She mentioned the weather. She asked about my family. She commented on my nail polish choice. She wondered out loud how her day would go. She would not keep quiet. Finally, I gave in, and I looked up from my book. I couldn't resist her forays into conversation. I smiled, I sighed a little, and I gave her my full attention because obviously she wanted my full attention. Now, most of the salons in our area are owned and operated by men and women originally from Vietnam. And the technicians speak English in varying degrees of proficiency. But I wanted to be correct, so I inquired, "What is your first language, Vicky?" And she replied, "Korean." "Really?" I was amazed. "I'm surprised," I said. "I thought you were all Vietnamese." "They are," she answered. "I am the only one. I can't understand a word they say." This is a true story. We both laughed, and I sensed that she needed a friend. Vicky told me that her husband worked out of town most of every week, and that she was on the verge of empty nest. "You know," I said, "we have 2 women from Korea living in our home right now." Yes, that's a true story. When our middle daughter was in 2nd grade, Mark and I began renting our extra room to young people who came to the United States to learn English, all ages and from all different countries. We didn't need to take our kids abroad because the world came to us. The Donaldsons became acquainted with many cultures, such as young people from Japan, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, Brazil, and China. And at that time, it was Korea. A young woman named Yoon from Korea was our latest house guest. By this time, we had 2 extra rooms, and Yoon introduced us to another gal from Korea who needed a place to stay short term. Now, after Vicky told me her story, I said this: "You must be so lonely." Now tell me, when's the last time you said that to someone, a friend or a stranger? Somehow it just came out of my mouth. She said, "Yes, I am so lonely. But yesterday I had a good dream, and you are my good dream." I laughed again, and I wasn't sure about that, but I did say, "Let's call one of my Korean students who's living with me, and you can speak Korean with her." And I did. I called Yoon and I explained the situation, and then I passed my phone to Vicky. She spoke her native language on my cell phone while I took over holding on to the open bottle of nail polish precariously dangling over my half-polished toenails. They had a good chat. Vicky finished her good work and then mentioned that her only day off was Sunday. I got her phone number, and a couple weeks later, she and a new friend, Michelle, who is Mongolian but also speaks Korean, came for tea, and we had the best time. God answered Vicky's good dream. She found out she was not forgotten. Another time I took myself in for a treat, this time at the beauty college. I sat down, and by way of greeting the young manicurist in training in front of me, I asked her, "So, how's your love life?" I said it with a smile, not expecting a real answer. Sometimes I think I'm rather clever. I'm not always the least bit clever. To my surprise, she replied, "Well, my boyfriend broke up with me last night. We've lived together for 3 years." There it was again, foot in mouth. I managed to choke out, "Oh, my dear, that is so sad. I know that must be so hard." Pausing slightly, I added, "Would you like to come for dinner tonight?" She looked up to see if I were serious. I was serious, and seriously wondering what I had planned to eat that night for dinner. Dana got up to go check her schedule. She returned shortly, and surprised for the second time in a matter of minutes, I heard her say to me, "Sure, I can come tonight for dinner." And she did. Sometime later, Dana joined us for church, and then for Sunday dinner afterwards. At that time, we were in the middle of our 13-year remodel project. Our dining table was in the middle of the living room, but no one seemed to mind. Dana and I lost touch for a few years. A mutual friend let me know that she moved on from cosmetology to cosmetic sales and invited me to her next home party. Now, I wasn't really interested in the skincare as much as I was interested in supporting my young friend. You know how that is. And I wanted to see how she was faring. A few weeks later, she showed up on our doorstep, makeup delivery in hand because, of course, I ordered something, and I invited her in. We chatted for a few moments on the couch. I asked a couple questions with a little more tact this time. And I found out that life was increasingly messy and painful. As she shared her current circumstances, I didn't see how I could help her in her situation. You know, we can't always fix people. In fact, we're not called to, but we can introduce them to the fixer. I really didn't know what to say. So I said what God put on my mind. "Would you like to pray with me and give your life to Jesus? He's the only one who can meet all of your needs." She said yes. She bowed her head, and side by side in the front room, Dana became a member of God's family. Now, I tell you these 2 stories because you never know who is ready to make a new friend or needs to meet the friend who never forgets his children. He will never leave you behind. Someone wrote this: "The friendship connection is more than the way to health and memory. It is the call of God to be people who create community and bring those who have been forgotten into our hearts." To bring those who have been forgotten into our hearts. You may feel forgotten yourself. God will use your life experience to help someone else. Your pain is never wasted unless you keep it to yourself. You may not be called to go to Korea or Mongolia, but we are all called to make connections, to reach out gently, tentatively, like dipping our toes into the steaming water for a pedicure, asking one question followed by another, which might lead to a simple invitation. Would you like to get together for coffee? I've got some great scones from Trader Joe's. Why don't you look for possibilities for coming alongside somebody else and go to the beauty college? It's so exciting to be God's welcome to your world. Who knows who might paint your nails tomorrow? I tell you these simple stories because I've seen how God changes the world one cup of coffee at a time. Tea works too. Did you ever feel alone and God sent a friend or a stranger to strengthen and comfort you? He will use that situation for you to strengthen and comfort somebody else. Here's a prayer you might want to pray today. Dear Father, thank you for seeing my pain and my loneliness. My name is written on your hands, so I know I'm never alone. Please help me be alert to someone who might feel all alone in their difficulties. Nothing is hidden from you, and I'm grateful. Strengthen us both according to your word. Thank you, and amen. Who do you know as an acquaintance who could become a friend? Why don't you ask them for a meetup this week and invite them to tell their story? Listening is a great act of love and hospitality. And would you mind emailing me and telling me how it went? Or I'll be happy to pray for you as well. My email is sue@welcomeheart.com. You have a wonderful day. Until next time, think about your legacy, the one God has called you to live, all for heaven's sake. I would love to speak at your next Christian Women's event. See my keynotes and retreat series, as well as the show notes from today's broadcast at welcomeheart.com. Thanks for coming. You're always welcome here.